Huge thanks go out to my boys at Popcorn Frights. Oh, you guys have done it again. Wow, so not only was there a screening of Return of the Living Dead on the big screen, but Linnea Quigley herself was there in person and graciously did a question and answer session with the audience. Afterwards, we were there, we recorded it, here you go.
You started doing the horror films. Did you like grow up loving watching horror films?
Oh, hell yeah. I grew up watching them, and on Saturday nights I'd watch the Creature feature, and we'd then like pretend, my girlfriend and I, that we were in the movies, and we especially like Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. And my middle name is Barbara, so my friend would go, "I'm going to get you, Barbara," and we thought that was really funny.
No, that film actually celebrates an anniversary this year.
Oh.
Night of the Living Dead actually celebrates 50 years.
Oh my God.
50 years. 60 years. Wow. That movie was what'd you say? That movie was way ahead of its time. It really launched the zombie films. Return of the Living Dead turned that on its head. Return of the Living Dead recreated the zombie film. It gave us something new. I love Dawn of the Dead. I love Day of the Dead. George Romero is brilliant. But Dan O'Bannon really touched on something with the punk rock vibe, when the Return of the Living Dead, and the soundtrack is absolutely amazing.
Oh, it's great.
I know for a while there was a lot of problems with the film soundtrack where the film couldn't get re-released.
Oh yeah, because of like they didn't.
There was a rights issue.
A rights issue, yeah, it was something like that.
So when Scream Factory released the Blu-ray, they were able to re-release it and get the original score back in. And the film, like I've seen the version without the original score, it's nowhere near good. The score is just absolutely amazing. How many of you actually have the soundtrack? I think someone actually came in with the vinyl record. Yeah. You came in with the vinyl record. It really adds a lot to the film. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience working on Return of the Living Dead?
Well, when I started, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, really. I hadn't signed my contract yet, which they didn't know. But, you know, they were doing things to me like painting you white and it wouldn't wash off. They tried different formulas on me. And I remember the first guy they had for special effects came and, like, at the end of the morning, I guess it was, would give me like gasoline to take it off, and I'd be like, okay, or I'd drive home like with white paint on me, and I couldn't get it off. It just was like they used it on some seal movie or something like that, because everything would wash off. So it was really gross on me, and I remember like just having a lot of fun on it, playing that character. I mean, if I got to pick anyone, it would have been that one.
Right.
And I loved all the characters in it, and I loved that they explained a lot of things in it, like when the half-corpse says about the pain of dying, you know, it's like they crave it. They have to have the brain, and they explain it more.
Well, it wasn't in the previous zombie movies. It wasn't about brain. This really, Return of the Living Dead is what introduced zombies wanting brains. I can't really do a good zombie voice.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
So, before Return of the Living Dead, though, you did Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yes.
Which is probably one of the most controversial horror films of all time. I remember being a kid and it being on the news all the time, like around the Christmas season, that it was banned everywhere because it was basically promoting Santa Claus as the killer, even though that's not really what the movie is.
Exactly.
So you really did two cult, like they weren't cult films at the time, they became cult films.
Yeah.
Compare your experience from Silent Night, Deadly Night going into Return of the Living Dead. What were some of the comparisons you had between the two films doing back to back?
Well, Silent Night, Deadly Night was more low budget, and the director used to do Grizzly Adams, so he wasn't really a good slasher director. And it was like just a whole different thing. They had us in these really horrible hotels that had the do not disturb signs, and you know, there wasn't one, and we were shooting all nights again. And so I just like got some gum out of my purse and wrote a note saying, "Do not disturb," and then stuck it on the door. And it was just totally different. It wasn't anything like Return, which was a great experience.
Now with Return of the Living Dead, here we are about a little more than 3 decades later. Audiences have embraced this film. The film is probably just as big now as it was upon its release. People love the movie. You have people coming in with tattoos and t-shirts. How are fans, like when fans approach you at conventions, at events like this, what's it like just talking to someone who's loved your film for this many years, they grew up on it, just embracing you and your work? I mean, like, tell us a little bit about your interaction with the fans over the years.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I've had really good interactions. I don't have any bad ones. I haven't had one. And the people are amazing. I found the people that are horror fans are also animal rights people.
Right.
They love animals. Yes, they do. And it was like I'd take people in LA to the shelter to get out a dog or cat at these kill shelters, and they'd be standing in line and be going, "Oh, there wasn't enough blood in that movie, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre really nailed it." And it's like, they'd be, "Oh, there's my cat, there's my dog." It was really great, and I just think they're the best people.
Can you tell the audience a little bit more about your work with animals, with dogs?
Yeah, I work a lot with dogs or whatever comes my way, but I've got 9 dogs right now, rescues, and it's a job, I tell you. It's really a job.
I love dogs. I also love ferrets. I'm a big ferret fan.
Oh,
Love ferrets. Have
they're
ferrets.
cute.
They're amazing.
Marty had ferrets. He's got chinchillas now.
You got chinchillas?
And 9 dogs.
Did you watch last week's episode of Archer?
Oh, he has 9 dogs too.
You have 9 dogs? Wow. So you got like 18 between the two of you.
Yeah, I know. Long walks and your arms get longer too.
I love dogs. Boxers are my absolute favorite, but I love all types of dogs.
Me too.
I want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions. So who has some questions here? Yes, sir.
Could you talk about what was it like working with Dan O'Bannon? What was it like?
Dan O'Bannon was the best director I've ever worked with, but he's also the scariest because he was kind of losing it a little bit because they had so much pressure on him to get the movie done with so much money, that was all that they had, they said. And so he was under pressure, and like the 3rd day he got a tick and he was like going like that. And then I remember he had to talk to me about when I'm coming out of the mud and resurrected, and he said, "Come here in the trailer." And so I'm like, somebody had just got his script all muddy, he was not in a good mood, and these extra zombies were sitting on the steps to his trailer, and he's like, "Get out of my way," and he kicked their coffee cup, and I'm like, "I'm going in there." And luckily we got along fine because I didn't like provoke him or anything. I didn't question him. And he let us do what we really wanted to do. He let us be what we wanted to do. Like if I just got over the car to go to the cemetery, he'd go with it, unless it didn't work.
Well, yes, sir.
Hi. As a matter of fact, I was going to ask you about that part. I noticed that you did go over the car when everybody came out.
Yeah.
When you break down the script, how did you do that for this character? What did you, when you were looking at the script, what were some of the nuances or some of the characterizations that you saw to allow you to do something like that?
I kind of do it a little differently. I just get up there, and when you say your lines and you have like a background with knowing things, like punk or whatever, it just comes out of you, or me. That's how I work. I don't do like who my mother was and who my mother was related to or anything like that. I just let the words and my experiences make it happen.
You let your emotions go at that time.
Yeah.
You don't do a backstory to it.
Exactly. I don't have a backstory.
Neither do I. Today's my first day.
Oh, yes.
Nothing happened prior.
Yes.
Yes, sir. You in the blue shirt.
I'm just curious, and I want to ask you about Man of Demons. What was your favorite scene to film in that movie?
Oh, I know what my favorite one was. When I'm a demon and I throw everybody out the window, and then I come back as a non-demon, and I say, "Run, Judy, run! See Judy, run!" That was my favorite because I pulled a little trick on the director because I hate prosthetic makeup on my face. I really don't like it. And we had stopped at a certain point before they got to the "Run, Judy, run." And I'd have to go back the next day and get the makeup done again. So I told him, I go, "Oh, Kevin, I've got this great idea." I go, "Why doesn't she come back with no makeup, like she's changed?" And he goes, "Oh, I love that." And I'm like, "Oh, yes." Because the makeup was like 12 hours or something.
That reminds me of that scene in Encino Man when he's drinking out of the Slurpee machine and he gets the Slurpee stuff all over his shirt. Then he comes back in and there's absolutely nothing on his shirt.
Yes. Yes.
So, who else has a question? Yes.
You've done a few videos with Motorhead. Do you have any fun Lemmy stories?
Oh, Lemmy was great. I loved Lemmy. He just wanted to be noticed. He'd hang out at the Rainbow in LA and like every night. And he was just the nicest guy. He drank a lot of cider, you know, but he was really a nice guy. And Phil, who played guitar, was the best. He was he's like on the set, he's like going, you know, I was like kind of getting away from him, but he's like, you know, "Oh," I gotta get my home and get my dogs out and stuff. And he goes, "Oh, I'll come with you and I'll bring you some biscuits." And I'm like, no. You know, I gotta do it alone.
So I got a question for you, and it's also a shameless plug for our event in July. In July, we are doing a 30th anniversary on Friday the 13th of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 with Freddy's Meatball Pizza. But for those of you who don't know, Linnea actually has a brief appearance in the movie. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about, in the film?
Yeah, that came about because...
Let's tell the audience where you are in the film.
Okay, where I am in the film is when the Freddy is like a big Freddy, and the souls are coming out of his chest. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah. At the end, okay. when they're defeating Freddy at the end.
Yeah, when they're defeating him.
Spoiler alert.
And, yeah. And he became my fiance. Well,
Freddy was your fiance?
No, my boyfriend at the time was Steve Johnson, and he was working the effects on it. And they said, you know, "We want you in it." And so they put KY jelly all over us, and that makes you cold. And
tell me, I know about that.
Yeah, it was all over.
When I'm covered in KY jelly.
It's a horrible experience. You should see them when they go, you know, get like effect stuff. They have to buy like cases of it.
Effect stuff. Well, I'm just talking about when I'm eating tacos.
Yeah, but it was funny because it wasn't funny, but the whole thing fell down on us, and we were standing on those apple boxes, so we went falling down. We almost hit the camera. The Asian lady on top went flying and hit the cement, but nobody was hurt.
Oh, good.
And Steve not engaged to me, he proposed to me afterward.
He proposed to you after?
To keep me from talking, but I talked.
And basically you have to kind of push yourself forward to be coming out, because it's all this big latex Freddy.
Oh yeah. It was like really pushing.
It doesn't seem easy. It seems like hard work.
No, it was actually hard because, you know, it's dental dam. Yeah. And they use that for sex some way.
So when you come here for Elm Street 4 in July, look out for her scene in Elm Street 4.
You can see my breastises.
It's one of your breast performances. Yes.
Okay, so whenever I saw this movie to my friends, I talk about the dance scene, which I just love because it's so like silly and like fun and empowering, and I love how Trash was singing the rest of the movie. Like, was that something that you improvised, or was that in the script? Like, how was it like?
That was in the script. We didn't even rehearse the dance. And I was dancing to Nasty Girl by Vanity. I don't know how they sync these things up. It's like crazy. But I just like improvised the whole thing. But that was in the script that, you know, Trash would lose her clothes and she was like didn't care about anything, her body, or dying, or anything, but I guess she did care about dying at the end.
We're going to give a couple more questions before Linnea goes back out to do some signings. Let's see who has questions. Yes, you.
I was wondering what the toughest scene in any of your movies has been filmed.
That's a good question. I think when I was buried in the mud in Return of the Living Dead, because these like guys that they look like, I don't know, like people that were not from LA, you know. And they like dug this trench for me, and I had to like get down in it, and then they started putting mud and dirt on me, and I'm like, oh my God, they're burying me alive. And I was really scared, and I couldn't hear down there, and I had to like just try, and they had to call action for the rain machines, and then I couldn't hear the action for me, so they said count to like 15 or something. I'm like holding my breath because I can't breathe, and I had to come up, and I said, I'm doing this in one take. And I did. I thought I'd slip and go flying or something, but I did it in one take. But that was the hardest, I think.
We're going to give one more question. Yes, sir.
In the movie, why was it that just your character was resurrected? Why wasn't Suicide and Scuzz resurrected? Is it because they got chopped in the brain?
They didn't have breasts.
Yeah. Everyone, thank Linnea Quigley for coming out tonight. It was amazing having you here. Great audience.
And can we do a shout out to Jason Lake, because he is really a good person.
Shout out to Jason Lake.
Jason Lake.